Hello, I'm your host Shami Lochanlal on Speak Your Mind, and this is Gold FM, your favorite radio station. When it comes to talkback shows and talkback shows which has national interest. So today I have Salote, who will be my guests in the last segment. I've got two lawyers on the talkback show, but at the moment I have Jokapethi, who's the senior counselor at Medical Service Pacific and also Child Helpline Project Manager. I'd like to welcome you, Paddy, on this show, and thank you for coming on this show. Ella is the Assistant Director, Child Services with the Social Welfare. How are you, Ella, today? And thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
So, we were running promos on radio. We were informing our listeners about our topic today. We're going to talk about child sex abuse. There are some of you who may call to share your story so other people can heal, learn, and listen. It is important for us to break the silence and talk about this. Our telephone number is 3220906 or call us on 3220907 during the program to contribute. We'll really appreciate you calling and joining the discussion. So let's talk about Ella, since you're the Assistant Director, Child Services with Social Welfare. How many cases of child sex abuse was reported last year and how many were reported this year?
Thank you, Sham. For us at the BHG, we have a database called the Child Welfare Decree Database, and the decree is basically about mandatory reporting of child cases to the Permanent Secretary, Social Welfare. And so the stats that I have is merely from the database that we have. So in last year, 141 sexual abuse cases. And I know it's probably more than that, but from the Child Welfare Decree database, 141 was reported on sexual abuse alone. And this year, as we speak, is 137. Yeah.
So, but I was reading a report by the Ministry of Women, Children and Poverty Alleviation. It said that they have recorded 683 cases of abuse against children in Fiji so far this year. Is that
abuse
contradictory?
Against children. So
is that general?
General abuse comes in forms of sexual abuse, physical neglect, abandonment.
But child sex abuse alone was
137 now this year, and 141 last year.
So does the MSP, the Medical Service Pacific, also receive the same number of child sex abuse cases? Do you work together in coordination, or is it different cases that you have, Paddy, with you?
Yes, thank you so much, Sami, for that. With the MSP, since we have MOUs with the Ministry of Women, Children and Poverty Alleviation and Child Services Unit, we work together in regards to their project. This is a government project, the Child Helpline. The number is 1325, and we receive calls on general abuse, whereas neglect is quite on high. And this is something that we have been receiving since 2015 when it was launched.
Do you receive cases of child sex abuse reports?
Yes, of course. We receive those cases as well, and we also report under the CWD to the Ministry of Women and Children.
So how old were these children who were sexually abused in both cases?
I think from our records, the youngest sexual abuse case is 12, but I know there are others that are younger than that. The age is getting,
Does
continues to
MSP
decrease.
have any record on that?
Yes, since we have also have the MOU with Fiji Police Force in regards to sexual assault cases that are referred to us, as we are the NGO that provides medical examination, forensic testing, and as well as counseling to support, to provide a holistic support to them.
So how old was the youngest victim?
2 years old.
2 years old. That's pretty shocking. A 2-year-old, a girl. Are the victims normally girls or boys?
Both.
Both. How many are girls and how many are boys?
So far, I think with the last year we received 4 boys that came in to access the services in regards to medical and other holistic care that we MSP provide in terms of sexual assault.
So there were 4 boys, and these boys were as young as
Young as 4 years old.
4 years old. Yes. So are offenders always men?
In most cases, yes, but depending on the nature of case, say for example, if it's physical, then it's both men and women.
But as we talk about today, we're going to talk about child sex abuse. How many are women offenders and how many are men? Normally people say there are more men, but are there women offenders as well? Child sex abuses?
So far from MSP, we haven't received any female.
So majority are men.
Majority,
Yeah. Is there an age group? Sometimes we hear in our news or so that the offender was 60 years old or 70 years old. What is the age group?
Yeah, the age differs. For last year and I believe this year, we've been getting that age bracket, 60 for sexual abuse. Usually, just oral sex and all those kind of offenses that the older ones commit. But I believe there's also in the mid 30s, 40s, and then we get younger offenders or perpetrators. They're juvenile offenders, 16 to say 18.
Like we say, there are different types of abuse, right? A child faces. Are there different types of child sex abuse reported as well?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Would you want to talk about that?
Yes, with the types of sexual assault, there are penetration, vagina to penis to vagina penetration, and as well of using of objects and even just fondling and touching.
I think it's important to talk.
Yes.
We need to break the silence and talk about it. Normally people will say, oh no, how can we talk about the types of child sex abuse reported? It is important because people need to know, parents need to know, children need to know the kind of child sex abuse which is being reported in Fiji. If we don't expose it through talkback shows like this on Gold FM, Speak Your Mind, and FBC TV, people won't know, and this is going to continue to happen. We're going to take a break, and then after that, we'd like to know when these victims of child sex abuse, when children come there, what is their state and how do offenders persuade these children? Does the child know what's happening to them? There are certain questions. Are parents coming out to talk about it? How do parents react to situations, and etc. If there is any services provided to help these children come out of trauma. So if you're listening, I'd like you to call, break the silence, be a voice for these children. There are children out there who want your support, who are waiting for you to step out and help them. This is a great opportunity to call and break the silence and talk about these things. So our telephone number is 3220906 or 3220907. Do call after the break and we'll continue our discussion soon after this. Speak Your Mind on Gold FM and FBC TV. My guests are Ella, Assistant Director Child Services with the Social Welfare, and Jacopethi who's a Senior Counselor at Medical Service Pacific and Child Helpline Project Manager. We are now trying to encourage people, all Fijians, to speak up as soon as they see something of such nature, child sex abuse, to talk. So what are the reasons why children don't tell anyone about sexual abuse, both when it happens to me or later in life? What are some findings?
I think for us, what we have found is that many times after working with a child, and we find that they have been warned by their perpetrators. They've been warned and threatened not to speak, or otherwise, something else will happen to you. They either threatened to kill, or so I think the fear that's been instilled in the children.
Do they also have the fear of who's going to listen to me if I tell them? My parents may be angry. Because who are the offenders? We have always talked about this, and we'd like to shout it from rooftop to
Yes.
tell you who are the offenders.
Yes, I believe that most of the perpetrators are mostly men who are known to these children.
So where will we find them? Will they find them in our homes?
In the
Neighbors, relatives, where?
It's in the community, in the church, even in
in their home.
their own home. Yes.
So most reported cases where the perpetrators were inside in the home and they were relatives.
Yes, they
These are
known.
people who will be less. People won't suspect them, right? Of committing such crime.
Yes.
Yes.
They are known to the children. Eh?
Yes. So do you think the children also would be fearful, would be afraid to go and tell their mom and dad that it was my uncle or it was my dad or my grandfather? Is that another fear?
Yes, the fear is because they are related. And what would mom and dad say? And most children, they are threatened not to say anything because of who they are, in the perpetrators, who they are in the home or in the family.
What do these victims say when they come to you for counseling? Do they share these emotions? Do they share their fear as to why they didn't talk about it? What
Yes,
do they
that is-
say?
That is part of the exploration when the counseling continues.
Mm.
And with most of the cases that we attend to, they talk about their experiences, the whole experiences from the beginning to the end.
So did the child know what was happening to them at that time?
Because of the way that they are, because they are children, they are fearful of talking about it because they know it's bad. Because they are told, if you're going to say this, I'm going to do this to you. I'm going to stop giving you money or even chocolate or anything that they have lured the child to so that they can do whatever they like with the child.
Yeah, I think also when there's interview with children, sometimes given their age, it's quite surprising to hear from them detail by detail, you know, what happens, you know, what actually happened, how they were lured, and actions after that. You know, and I believe sometimes when they are lured with their favorites, you know, if it's chocolate or candies or whatever it is, the fear that if I tell someone, I'm not going to get any more of this. You know?
So it's the persuasive words which the perpetrators use to lure these children. Now, when these incidents did happen with the reported cases, where were the parents at that time? Were they in home? Or children were left unattended? Where were they? What was the situation?
Because of the perpetrator's plan, if they have a plan, they will find a time when mom is cooking or even going out to attend something or go to church, or when the appropriate time for them to act out what they have planned, because that is a planned thing.
And especially if they're members of the family, they already know the timetable and the program. You know, this is what happens at this time. You know, the child is kind of left unsupervised. Yeah. So some of them, that's when they capitalize on that. Yeah.
So all the cases of child sex abuse reported with your organizations, who reported these cases? Were the parents involved in reporting the cases? Were the relatives, or did the children come forward?
On a case-by-case basis, many times neighbors, they're concerned neighbors, concerned relatives, they report. So there's different reporting. And they also go to different organizations to report. Let's say, for example, if it's the police, or sometimes children disclose to their teachers, and the teachers report.
Are children disclosing to the parents?
Some, yes.
Some they do that. They are bold enough to walk up to their parents and just.
Do you think the parents are listening to them?
Sometimes when we look at the reactions of parents, there's sometimes when children report on such things, then we get, you know, comments such as, "Oh, she has a tendency to lie," for example, you know, and
This is what the parents do.
yes,
When children, because we
Some
normally say the
parents
children
react that
never
way.
lie. They're very honest, right? They're very
yes.
outspoken. So when children do go to their parents, some parents do make this statement saying that they have a tendency to lie.
Yeah.
So
I
you've already
think,
shut the door.
Yes. And so because it brings bad report to the family. So sometimes we find that families like to keep their reputation rather than
Yeah.
So different reactions for different cases.
What's important here, to keep the reputation or protect your child? It's
think
common
protect
sense,
the
I
child.
guess.
Yeah.
Yes, everyone should remember that you as an adult, as a caregiver or a parent to these children, for you to remember that you are the most important thing in your child's life, because they will have to learn to trust you so that they will be able to open up and talk about issues.
How can parents gain their trust? What can they do to the children? What are some things that they should keep in mind to get the children to trust them and talk about it openly? How can parents help?
I think they should have an open relationship, more dialogue, more talking between. And I think some families wait for schools to talk about sex education and all those kind of things. But if we have an open relationship, I don't know how easy that can be.
Is our culture a
Yes.
barrier in talking about sex education? Is it taboo
Culture
to
is
talk
part
to
of
children?
It. Yes, culture plays a big part.
But then it's really affecting and torturing
Yeah.
and hurting our children.
I think that just the
What
more
kind of a
awareness-
culture? What's the use of having a culture if it is becoming a barrier in protecting our children in topics as such?
What do you think?
Yeah.
Don't you think we should
Yes.
break such barriers now?
Yes, of course. And I believe that
We are breaking slowly.
the government and the UN organization, and as well as churches and as well as NGOs out there, they are working very hard in trying to reach out to the unreached people out there, and also to take child protection to that extent, so that they will be able to learn more about preventative measures and safety messages, so that they can help their children.
We'll take a break, but before that, I'm going to leave you with a thought before we come to the next break. A lot of Fijians in Fiji, as their children grow up, their children accompany their parents to churches and other religious organizations, in this case, mostly Christians. Have we failed along the way? Have pastors failed along the way? Have parents failed? What are some taboos within our cultural and religious belief which is stopping us to speak out? After this break, we'll discuss, and you're most welcome to join this discussion. This is Speak Your Mind on Gold FM and on FBC TV. Ella and Jacopithi are here with me on this Talkback show. We're talking about child sex abuse. Children as small as 2 years old have been victims to sex abuse. I mean, unbelievable, unacceptable. So let's recollect where we left. Most of the children grow up going to churches with their parents. Then we have pastors in the church. Have we put a restriction? Do you think we have put a restriction on not to talk about sex education at home? How does it affect a person's religious value? What can we do to overcome this and make communication more open in homes, in churches? Or should churches never, parents shouldn't play a role in this at all?
I think it's time that we talk about child issues and in particular child sexual abuse cases. For us, having seen that there was an increase in child cases, last year we started to work with faith-based organizations, and what we are telling them now is not a time for us to sit back and still consider, sex abuse as
The
a
word
taboo.
sex and indulging into illegitimate sex could be a sin, but
Yes.
talking about this kind of sex education is not a sin.
So one strategy that we have used as a ministry is when we go out for our awareness programs, we take with us the statistics. This is national statistics, this is maybe divisional, now this is your. And then, we have people that have come up openly to share their thoughts. But I believe we still need to do more to encourage our churches, our people our community leaders to talk about the issue.
Because we have a lot of respect for our elders, be it a head in the church or a family member,
Yes.
and this could be, in most cases, these are older people who are the perpetrators. So when they come to you, Pedhi, and when you find out that these were people who are holding high places in society or elders in the family or in the community, how can we encourage people to talk about it and not be bound with the fact that because they're elders we can't speak against them?
For MSP, for Medical Services Pacific, we have a focus on reproductive health, sexual reproductive health and rights, and this is part of the awareness that are taken out to the community in terms of prevention, in terms of teaching young girls and boys in schools and as well as in the communities in regards to issues as in sex. And it is very important for us to talk about all this information to our community members. And before we have to segregate men and women and girls and boys, but now we are teaching. We have a Girl Empowered booklet that talks about A to Z of a girl's life. And this has been taken out to schools and communities, and they are all put together, boys and girls, and as well as parents and young people, to be taught in regards to that, so that they will be able to understand their body, know their body, and who they are and what they are, so that they will be able to take care of themselves in regards to sexual abuse.
So if a child is being abused, it may be a 2-year-old, it may be a 5-year-old, or a small kid, what are some signs and indicators of abuse, as in behavioral patterns, physically, emotionally, to notice, to know? This will help a lot of parents and a lot of relatives to find out and maybe report the case, for sure.
Yes, there are signs of physical abuse, there are signs of neglect, there are signs of sexual abuse and other abuse, emotional abuse as well. With sexual abuse, we know that they will be affected physically, like having trouble in walking and sitting, and also sometimes they display knowledge of sexual acts inappropriately to their age. And sometimes they make strong efforts to avoid a specific person, a member of the family, maybe a male member of the family. And sometimes they run away from home, or they don't want to go to school. And sometimes they isolate themselves. And sometimes when they want to talk to us, they are fearful of the fact of that they wouldn't know what will happen. They are fearful of the unknown. And sometimes it'll be hard for them to even show what's going on or what they are experiencing. And there are some signs and symptoms that we may think that it's not really appropriate for us to talk about with the children, even if they cannot sit well on the floor or on the chair, or they saying that they have a boil or something. So it is our duty as an adult or a caregiver or a parent to try and explore more on those kind of signs and symptoms that the children are showing.
Yeah.
And
I think sometimes we need to be more observant. Even say in a school scenario, if a child is withdrawn, just recognizing that there's a difference in a child's behavior. Oh, this was a jovial little girl, but for a few weeks now, she has been withdrawn, or she lacks that association. She's not mixing well with her friends or some sort of thing. That should raise a red flag to carers, to teachers, to parents. And I believe the displaying behaviors. Sometimes if you observe children, some like to just, if it's not so normal for them to concentrate on their private parts or to lift their skirts in, like inappropriate behaviors. Something that this child did not do before, but lately has been doing that. Those are some things that should raise red flags for us. I mean, physical abuse it's very evident. You can see, if a child is being physically abused. Emotionally abused is something that is hard to detect, but through observation, I believe we will be able to see, be able to tell that the child has gone through something. Sometimes, the fear when they see someone, because we don't know what happened to the child. Maybe something when they come to a room or place, something that will trigger them.
Yes.
I don't know, smell of cigarette, and you see, or some kind of perfume. Then suddenly you see that there's some reactions to this kind of thing,
Or if a child's behavior is very withdrawal towards someone who's walked in the house, and the parents said, come and say hello to this person, and the child is not wanting to come, don't be shy. Hello. We sort of force our children without knowing the
Sometimes we
reason.
force
Yes.
without knowing that, she's actually...
Yes, but I like what you said, Ella and Jokapedi, also that we need to be very observant, observe all these things, and don't be ignorant and say, oh, my child is in the room most of the time because he or she prefers, he's growing up, that's why he's shy. Let's be observant. Let's start asking some bold questions and show this caring attitude. You may not know what you discover. We'll take a break and we'll want to know that what are some common questions survivors ask. Most of you may ask. Some of you who have been sexually abused during your childhood, or maybe you're abused now, you may think, was it my fault? Did I do anything wrong? So these are some questions we're going to talk about, and we'd like to help you. If you're being sexually abused, there is help for you. If you were sexually abused when you were a child, you're a grown up, I think you also need help, and because you may not have talked to anybody. So this program is for you. We'll be right back. Welcome back on Speak Your Mind. We're talking about child sex abuse. So, Jokapedi, tell me, how many cases do you have at the moment with medical service specific in regards to child sex abuse?
Thank you. For now, we have received about 508 cases that have been seen. These are the cases from the sexual offense unit, and they are brought to us for the holistic care, for medical examination, and forensic testing, and as well as counseling and legal support.
So how many counselors do you have at MSP?
We have 6 counselors.
And are they all qualified and very
Yes,
trained?
qualified to do pure counseling. And
So
they provide
500,
care.
you said 500
Yes.
cases,
This is from 2012 to now.
right?
Yes.
So are you able to handle the treatment counseling of cases given to you by DPP's office, or if it comes through social welfare?
Yes, we are providing that because of the MOU that we have with the Fiji Police Force, Ministry of Women, Children and Poverty Alleviation, and the Ministry of Education as well, and the Ministry of Health. And other NGOs, they refer cases to us.
So you
we
help each
provide
other,
that.
kind of. It doesn't only go to MSP, but it goes to other stakeholders, support groups who actually share the number of cases they have. So all 500 doesn't come to MSP alone for counseling.
These are the cases that we attend to.
The
we
500.
provide the holistic care. So
Okay.
we have a process in place. So once they are
Yeah, what
referred to
involves
us,
in it? Yes.
when they are referred to us by the Fiji Police, so we attend, we provide pre-counseling and psychological preparation for medical and forensic testing, and post-counseling as well, and ongoing support. And we also have a Phoenix program that we take them through throughout the process of healing in regards to counseling.
How long does this process take from the time you bring them in, from counseling to follow-ups to healing process?
It varies because different children with different personality, different coping mechanism, and as well as with the support that they have. And sometimes it takes 2 years for them to be attending the group counseling. And we have a candle making process that goes through every second Saturday to provide that therapeutic assistance. And they are taken through by discussing things and also to help them to know each other from the other survivors as well who comes in to join the group
So
therapy.
you mean to say that you have enough qualified counselors to
Yes.
counsel all 500 children?
Yes, we have 6 in Suva and 1 in our branch in Lambas.
Do you provide any kind of counseling to the parents as well?
Yes, of course, we also provide, because if a child is sexually abused, not only the child is affected, there's other siblings are affected, and as well as the family. So we provide family therapies as well as couple therapy, and as well as the children.
So what is the key factor to recover from this trauma? Any child who's been sexually abused, what would be the key factor? What kind of support? Yes.
I think we like to, for victims, we like them to talk about it. I guess talking about it is a therapy in itself. It helps them, even though they relive the situation that they've been through, but it kind of gives them a release. So the more they talk about it, the better. But to talk about it to people that they can trust, let's say, for example, counselors or
a mother,
welfare officers, or
confiding in your mum.
confiding in your mom, or family members that they can trust. Yeah.
What do the survivors? What are some common questions survivors ask? Do they ask why me?
Yes, that is the main question that they ask: why me and not somebody else?
Yeah.
Why did
So is it a
somebody go through
lifetime
this?
trauma, or are they able to recover?
Depending on the abuse, the extent of abuse that they've had, and if it's not dealt with, then it could be a lifetime trauma that they go through. If dealt with, I guess, some halfway up their life, then they will be. But it depends on the coping strategies that.
How can
each
we break
survivor
this?
has.
How can we break this this epidemic, I would call? What can be done?
Yes, I think for Fiji we have been doing a great job in trying to work on the prevention side, in creating awareness and education in schools and communities, and I believe with the government that they've been doing their work. But we know it wouldn't stop what a perpetrator has planned to do. And it is our duty for us as caregivers and parents to also to safeguard and also to come up with safety plan on how we can protect our children.
You see, breast cancer awareness is so big in Fiji. We all wear pink ribbons. We do a lot of competitions. We do a lot of fundraising, right? Morning tea, this big tea, that tea, which is good. When it comes to November, we do prostate cancer, Movember. But when it comes to child abuse, we are not wearing any ribbons. We are not marching. Are we doing enough to create awareness?
I think from the ministry side, from the government, we have the Prevention of Child Abuse and Neglect Day celebration. It normally happens on the 19th of November. So it's an international celebration. And so this is one of the many platforms that we use to raise awareness on prevention of child abuse and neglect. And every year we have different themes for this celebration. Say, for example, last year, when we were high on sexual abuse, our theme was, last year, 2015, it was Stop Child Sexual Abuse. Last year, neglect. The theme was Great Childhood Begins at Home. So this year, we also seeing that neglect is still coming up as something that's high with children. So our theme this year is Stronger Families, Safer Children. We're trying to encourage families to take more, to be more cautious with their children, spend time with children, and all of that. And so, when we have this celebration, it's not only the ministry alone, but we have a national committee called the National Coordinating Committee on Children, or the NCCC for short. So we have all our partners who are members of this committee. So we come together at national level. That is what we have, the NCCC. So we have our government partners and our stakeholder partners as well to discuss issues surrounding children. At the divisional level, then we have interagency committees. So there's a lot of work that's been done, a lot of collaboration. We are trying to work towards raising the awareness on children. The
Such as
results
I-
we are receiving is good,
Yes.
and we are assuming that this is because of the awareness. People
Yes.
are getting more.
And we'll continue to create this awareness. We'd like to end this segment on what you said is stronger families.
Safer children.
Spending more time with your families. Elizabeth, thank you very much. Jacopethi, sorry, thank you very much. And Ella for coming on the show. We'll continue to talk about this to create more awareness. Stay with me because I'm going to talk about what the law says about it. Do you know the law on child sex abuse? What happens to the offenders? Where can you go for help? Right after this break. Welcome back on Speak Your Mind, and I have Salote, who's the Principal Legal Officer with Legal Aid Commission, and Soko, Legal Officer, again with Legal Aid Commission. We've been talking about child sex abuse. So what does the law say about child sex abuse? Let's discuss that.
Well, for generally, any sexual abuse is an offense. So, in the Crimes Act is where it specifies each type of sexual abuse cases. That's starting from rape, and it works its way down, inclusive of attempted rape, sexual assault cases, defilement, indecent assault. So all those encompasses sexual abuse. They have their different divisions and their different specification in terms of the legal framework that goes into it.
How does it protect the child?
In terms of protection of the child in criminal cases, so the child becomes the victim. So it basically holds those who commit such offending to liable to an imprisonment term. So it goes before the court like any criminal case, and the court determines whether they are guilty or otherwise. And if they are so, then in terms of each case, there is an imprisonment term, rape being the highest, with an imprisonment of life imprisonment. That goes down to indecently annoying, which is about 1 year imprisonment.
Okay. How about those who pass sexual remarks? Could that be counted as an offense? Because it starts from there mostly.
If it's offensive, that can be constituted under indecently annoying. So if they say something that is demeaning or probably goes to the a sexual connotation, so it would go to indecently annoying, and that's again 1 year imprisonment, the maximum that the court can give.
So today we are here to discuss that it is very important to report on child sex abuse and not get it settled within family matters, right? So then some people might ask questions that if we go to the police to report this matter, then the file goes to the lawyers, or file goes to maybe family court or the social welfare department, and the process is long. How do you encourage them in this area? What are some things that they need to know when they deal with such cases and they have to report this matter with police?
In terms of reporting, the child welfare decree is clear on professionals reporting. So that as far as the definition of professionals goes, it's lawyers, police officers, the Department of Social Welfare, and also inclusive of teachers now as per the new amendment. And apart from that, if it's just exclusive of professionals, if they find that the procedure is rather long, the DPP's office is there, Director of Public Prosecution's office. If I understand the police may have a large number of work that they attend to, the DPP's office is always open in terms of abuse cases for children. They have a child
protection division.
Child protection division, so they can report it there. But otherwise, the Legal Aid Commission is always open in terms of we can assist them as far as the family court is concerned in taking abuse cases to court.
Normally, when it comes to child sex abuse, is the matter reported to the police, or does it come to the lawyers first, or family court, or social welfare, or do they reach to counselors?
It depends on the choice that is made by the parent or whoever finds out about the abuse, but necessarily it goes to the police department, and also it's advisable that they take it also to the social welfare department, especially in cases where if the close family members become the perpetrators. So in that case, the social welfare department is mandated by law to investigate and bring the proceedings further, either through DPP, police, or to court, so that the child is removed from the place in which the abuse happened.
Yes. Normally, when there is reports of child sex abuse, because it does concern children, it's something very emotional.
Yeah.
It's very close to heart. Our children are very close, and then you hear public voices rising saying that there should be harsher penalties. What is the punishment to the offender?
Well, like we have outlined, so there's different offenses, and it has different imprisonment terms. So the highest being life imprisonment for rape, and usually for child rape, it's usually 10 to 16 years of imprisonment, and that's the highest as it goes, and it works its way down. So that's the imprisonment for offenders if they are found guilty in court.
So do you also work around the child welfare decrees?
Yes, we do.
Is the same thing to do with the law around child sex abuse?
Yes.
What is one thing that you'd like to tell the children to encourage them to report?
What we always, in terms of this kind of offending, we encourage them to talk to anybody. Don't really limit it to your parents or loved ones. We try and it's hard to see us as someone that they are comfortable in sharing with, so we try and bring ourselves down to their level and ensure that they are safe to share whatever that they go through with anybody.
And then there is law there to protect
Yes.
those the victims.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Salote and Soko, for giving your time on this last segment of Speak Your Mind. So today, our topic, we discussed on child sex abuse, and how can we turn the table, or how can we turn the tide on this epidemic. So break the silence on child abuse, child sex abuse, because there is someone out there who is counting on us to have this conversation, who is counting on us to bring it to the attention of those whom they can trust. Do listen to the children. Be observant. See what their behavior is like. And if you do come across a child who's behaving in abnormal ways or needs your help, don't just keep it to yourself. Go and seek help. We need to stop child sex abuse. I'll see you on Speak Your Mind next Tuesday. So thank you for being with me on the show, and thank you very much, Soko and Salote, once more.
Thank you, Sha.
Thank you.